been tough. Hearing the news about Val Kilmer's passing
Yeah.
at only 65
Way too young.
due to pneumonia,
Mhm.
it's really got me thinking. And I've seen so many reactions already, particularly from folks he worked with.
Yeah, it's been really interesting to see.
We have this article here that's rounded up a lot of those initial tributes.
Yeah.
And I think for this deep dive, what I really want to get into is, what do these initial reactions tell us
Yeah.
about his legacy, about the impact he had, especially on the film industry?
I mean, it is such a fascinating thing to think about, right? Because we have this figure,
Yeah.
Val Kilmer. He was such a presence, right? You think about Top Gun, Batman Forever, Tombstone, Heat, all of these iconic roles, and he was a big part of our kind of cultural landscape for so long. And to see him go like this,
Yeah.
it's very powerful. And I think these very immediate kind of raw tributes are so fascinating because they give us this window into
How he was perceived
exactly how he was perceived by those who knew him, who worked with him.
by those he impacted.
And by extension, it tells us about the mark he left on film.
Exactly. And you see this outpouring right away.
Oh, immediately.
The article highlights Josh Brolin, Josh Gad, Jennifer Tilly,
Huge names.
all taking to platforms like Instagram and X
Right away.
to share their thoughts.
That's amazing.
And it's almost as if you can get this initial glimpse
Yeah.
into how much respect and affection.
It's very telling, isn't it?
Oh, for sure.
That in such a busy industry,
Yeah.
so many people would take the time
To just stop.
to just stop and share their memories.
Give those remembrances.
Immediately.
Right? Like, it's not a delayed thing. It's like this.
It's not something that's calculated. It's very from the heart.
So let's just dive into some of these.
Yeah, let's do it.
So Josh Brolin, he shares this Instagram post.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a picture of Val Kilmer?
Yeah.
And he writes, "See ya, pal. I'm going to miss you. You are a smart, challenging, brave, uber creative firecracker." There's not a lot left of those. And when you just look at those adjectives,
Yeah. Yeah.
smart, challenging, brave, uber creative, firecracker.
I mean, he was all of those things.
What do those tell you about Kilmer?
Well, I think, first of all, what strikes me is that it's this multifaceted description.
Yeah.
You have smart, which suggests this intellectual depth.
Yeah, you don't always hear that.
You don't always think about that, right? You think about these sort of outward-facing
The charisma.
kind of movie star roles.
Right.
But to be smart, to be intelligent, that kind of permeates everything, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then challenging, which is so interesting.
Yeah. What does that make you think of?
I immediately think of someone who pushes himself,
Uh-huh.
who pushes others
Creatively.
who maybe wasn't content with the easy path.
Right.
And that's so important in the arts, isn't it?
Yeah.
To really find that truth, to dig deeper.
To not just take what's given,
Exactly.
to really challenge yourself and those around you.
Yeah. And then brave. I mean, that could speak to so many things.
Yeah.
His artistic choices, taking on complex, challenging roles.
They're going for it.
Going for it, not playing it safe.
And knowing, we know now, later on, all about his health struggles.
Yeah.
That brave takes on even more meaning.
Personal resilience, battling through.
Yeah.
Battling through, exactly.
And then you get uber creative and firecracker.
Yeah.
And that's just like, oh, wow.
This intense energy,
The dynamism.
Yeah.
This presence that just bursts out.
Almost like he couldn't contain it.
Yeah.
That creative energy just had to come out.
And then he says, there's not a lot left of those.
Yeah.
What do you think he means by that? Like, what do you think it was about Kilmer that made him stand out in that way?
That's such a great question, I think. If you think about Hollywood, you think about the pressures to be polished,
Yeah.
to be predictable, to fit a certain mold.
To play the game.
To play the game,
To
exactly.
do what's expected.
And I think what Brolin is getting at is that Kilmer resisted that.
He did it his way.
He did it his way. That his artistic spirit, his personality was just so vibrant. And maybe less common, that kind of authenticity.
Yeah.
I think that's what Brolin is lamenting the loss of.
And I think you can even see how that challenging aspect could also play into that, right?
Absolutely.
Someone who's not afraid to go against the grain.
Who's not afraid to push for a different approach.
Not afraid to, stir the pot a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. To rock the boat.
Then he ends with, I hope to see you up there in the heavens when I eventually get there. Until then, amazing memories, lovely thoughts.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And that just really gets at, this is more than just professional.
Yeah.
This is a friendship.
It speaks to a genuine friendship.
And a deep respect.
A deep respect. And the fact that he says amazing memories, lovely thoughts.
Yeah.
It shows the impact that Kilmer had.
It's not just an acknowledgement of, the loss.
Of the professional,
Yeah.
but of a friend.
It's a personal loss.
A real person.
Yeah, and that comes through so clearly.
Yeah.
Now, moving on, we have Josh Gad's tribute.
Oh, yeah.
And this is on Instagram as well. And he posts a picture of Kilmer as Iceman in Top Gun.
Such a great picture.
And he writes, R.I.P. Val Kilmer. Thank you for defining so many of the movies of my childhood. You truly were an icon.
Wow.
And I think it's so interesting because now we're getting the perspective of someone who was a fan?
Yeah, who grew up with Kilmer's performances.
Yes. What does it mean for an actor
Right.
to define the movies of someone's childhood? What kind of impact do you think he's talking about?
I think that's a great question. And I think when an actor defines someone's childhood movies, it means their performances were so memorable, so impactful, that they became completely intertwined with that person's movie-watching experience.
Right. Their formative movie experiences.
Exactly. So as kids, we're learning about story.
You're absorbing everything.
We're absorbing everything. Yeah.
And to have these actors and these roles.
And these characters.
That really stick with you.
Yeah.
They shape your understanding of what cinema can be.
Yeah.
And of course, I mean, Top Gun.
Oh, what a cultural phenomenon.
I mean, just massive.
Yeah.
And you think about Kilmer's role.
Iceman.
Yeah. He's not the lead.
Right.
But he's this defining presence.
He's so memorable.
He absolutely is, yeah.
And then he uses this word icon.
Yeah.
Which gets thrown around a lot.
A lot.
But what do you think it really means?
Yeah.
In this specific context, talking about Val Kilmer, like, what does it mean to be an icon in Hollywood?
I think in this context, icon signifies it's
Yeah.
more than just success. It's this idea of lasting cultural impact.
Yeah.
And recognition that goes beyond just those individual roles.
Right. It's bigger than any one film.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Someone whose work really impacted the landscape of cinema.
And that's recognized across generations.
By such a broad audience.
Yeah. And the fact that Gad mentions Top Gun, Batman Forever, Tombstone,
He rattles them off.
He rattles them off, right.
Yeah.
I mean, that really gets at this idea of
The breadth.
that iconic status, right?
Yeah.
Different genres, different types of roles, and yet
All memorable.
they made this huge impact. And he's speaking for a generation, right?
Yeah.
A generation of moviegoers who were influenced by these performances.
Yeah, who grew up with those films.
Exactly.
Now, Jennifer Tilly, she has a very different kind of tribute.
Oh, yeah.
This is a vivid, I would almost say legendary anecdote
Okay.
about Kilmer auditioning for The Doors.
Where he played Jim Morrison, yeah.
And she shares this on X.
Mm-hmm.
And she's talking about how they were pairing up actors for Jem and Pamela.
Right, right.
And there's this whole room full of people
Yeah.
waiting to audition.
Yeah.
And then a 60s convertible screeches to a halt outside.
Oh, wow.
Doors music blaring.
Of course.
And out steps Kilmer, barefoot,
no shoes?
shirtless,
Wow.
in tight leather pants.
Oh, I mean, talk about embodying the role.
Right. And all the other actors are just like,
Just looking at each other.
who is this guy?
Yeah.
They're shook
Yeah.
by this, what she calls sheer audacity.
Oh, I love that.
So what does this tell you about his approach to his work?
This anecdote is incredible, right?
Yeah.
Because it shows you he didn't just want to read lines.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to be that character.
Embody the character?
From the moment he walked in the door.
Yeah.
I mean, that's That's a deep level of
immersion.
immersion in the role, you know? And to do that in an audition,
Yeah, when the pressure's on.
the pressure is on. You got
Yeah.
to make an impression.
Yeah.
And he clearly did.
And I love how she ends it.
Yeah.
She says, from that minute on, nobody else stood a chance.
Wow.
Like, he just blew everyone away.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just about being memorable, right?
You know, it was about conveying
There was an intensity
and dedication.
that set him apart.
You can't teach that.
And that's what the casting team saw.
It was a transformative quality.
Yeah, absolutely. It wasn't just an audition
He was becoming Jim Morrison.
right in front of them.
In that moment.
And, to make that choice
Yeah.
in an audition,
It's so bold, so unconventional.
it's risky.
It really speaks volumes.
It shows how much he understood the character.
And how much he dedicated himself.
Yeah, and how much he was willing to risk
Yeah.
to really inhabit that role.
Amazing.
Yeah, let's shift gears a bit,
Okay.
because we have director Michael Mann,
Oh, wow.
who worked with Kilmer on Heat,
Yeah.
and he shared some thoughts with a Hollywood Reporter.
Uh-huh.
And he said, While working with Val on Heat, I always marveled at the range, the brilliant variability within the powerful current of Val's possessing and expressing character.
That's beautiful.
And this is Michael Mann,
A legend.
known for being so meticulous
Yeah.
in his approach to filmmaking.
Yeah.
So when he talks about range and brilliant variability,
What does that mean to a director like Michael Mann?
what is he seeing in Kilmer's acting that's making him say that?
Well, from a director's perspective,
Yeah.
range is so crucial.
Uh-huh.
It's about being able to play a wide spectrum of characters
To be believable.
and be believable.
Cross genres.
Yeah, different emotions and then brilliant variability.
That's interesting.
It suggests something even deeper, you know?
Yeah.
It's about finding the nuances
Uh-huh.
within a single character.
Subtleties.
Yeah, keeping the performance dynamic and surprising.
Yeah.
It's not just about playing different roles.
Yeah.
It's about bringing that depth and complexity to each one.
Yeah. And then he uses this phrase, powerful current of Val's possessing and expressing character.
Yeah, that's so evocative.
That sounds so intense.
It really does.
How do you interpret that?
Well, for me, it evokes this feeling of complete immersion
Yeah.
in the role possessing. Almost suggests that Kilmer,
He inhabits.
he inhabited those characters
it.
fully,
Yeah.
taking them on as his own, and then expressing that potent communication to the audience, giving them access to that.
To what he was feeling.
It's like he channeled the essence of the character
Wow.
with this real intensity and conviction.
It's almost like a spiritual thing.
It almost is, yeah. It's very powerful.
And Mann also adds this note, acknowledging Kilmer's battle with throat cancer.
Oh, right.
He says, after so many years of Val battling disease and maintaining his spirit, this is tremendously sad news.
Yeah.
And it just adds this whole other layer, right?
It does. It really does.
To these tributes.
It contextualizes the loss,
Yeah.
within his struggles,
His personal struggles.
his triumphs, his resilience.
The fact that he kept working.
Yeah.
That he maintained his passion.
Despite everything,
Through all of that.
adds this layer of
Claims her
respect and admiration.
To these tributes.
Yeah, absolutely.
It makes you appreciate
His strength.
his dedication.
Yeah, his commitment.
To his craft. Now, finally, the article has this visual retrospective.
I love when they do that.
It's a collection of images spanning his career all the way back to 1983 up to 2019.
Wow, so you can really see the whole span of his career.
And just looking at these images,
Yeah.
you see the variety of roles, the public appearances. It really hits you
Yeah.
with the
The
longevity
diversity
of his career.
I mean,
And
to have that long of a career in Hollywood
it's amazing.
it's really a testament to
Yeah.
your talent, your perseverance.
So as we kind of piece together these initial tributes,
Yeah.
these reflections, what are the key themes you see emerging about Val Kilmer's lasting impact?
Well, I think a couple of things are really clear.
Hmm.
Firstly, his talent,
Uh-huh.
the range he had as an actor.
That comes up again and again.
Again and again, it's undeniable. And
Yeah.
these weren't just fleeting successes,
Yeah.
These were performances that resonated deeply with people. So, secondly, I think it's clear that his characters
Yeah.
had a huge impact.
Both on audiences and his peers.
Both, creating these iconic figures that still endure.
They've become part of the cult.
They've become part of our cultural fabric.
Yeah, and then there's this sense of his personality.
That firecracker.
That firecracker
That
quality.
audacious commitment that we saw in Tilly's story.
Yeah, you can't teach that.
You can't teach that. And then finally, the fact that people acknowledge his resilience
In the face of his illness.
in the face of his illness, I think that adds this layer
of respect, of admiration.
Absolutely, yeah.
It makes you really appreciate everything he accomplished even more.
It puts it all in perspective, doesn't it?
It really does. So it's clear he was more than just a successful actor.
Yeah, far more.
He carved out this space
A very distinct space
Yeah.
for himself.
and left his mark on the industry
And on the people he worked with.
and the audiences he entertained.
Absolutely.
So think about this. When someone passes,
And there's this immediate,
Yeah.
heartfelt response
outpouring of emotion,
from so many different people.
different corners of the industry.
What does that tell you about the kind of person they were?
It's really a testament to their impact.
And, thinking about what we've learned about Val Kilmer
Yeah.
through these tributes,
Yeah.
it really makes you want to go back,
Yeah.
explore his filmography,
Yeah.
learn more about his life.
Beyond the screen.
Yeah, and really think about what kind of legacy he's leaving behind.
Yeah. What's that lasting impact?
And it makes you think, you know?
Yeah.
About the impact that one person can have.
Yeah, huge ripple effect.
Yeah, a huge ripple effect that goes on and on.
So much more than just the roles he played.
So much more.
A real human being.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes this so powerful.
Absolutely.
It's not just about the films, it's about the man.
The man behind those iconic characters.
Yeah. So that's something to really think about.
It really is, as we continue to remember him.
And celebrate his life.
And celebrate his life, exactly.